This is a shakedown. Order up that beat just like it's takeout.
All right, welcome back to today's episode where we are going to talk about the role of playing a superhero as a caregiver and the possibility of wearing that burnout cape. What do I mean by that? Well, first, before we dive into it, let me introduce my co-host. That's Leah. I'm Allie. You know, either way we spell our names, it comes out the same. And today we actually will have a special guest with us, Cami, who's going to help us get some more of the insight into what goes on in the world of caregiving and how caregiving can affect our lives both personally, professionally, and then some. So, hey Leah, welcome back, my dear.
Hey Allie, thank you.
All right.
Also, I just have to add that we're still seeking our sponsorship from Crown Royal.
Yeah.
Anytime now, guys.
it's never
Anytime
happening.
now.
She's still dreaming. It's never happening.
You know what?
Crown, call us. All right, so
I'm waiting for my throne.
this episode means a lot to me. We'll get you that throne one day. When this podcast hits like 1 million viewers, we will have to contemplate getting that throne for her. So make sure you subscribe and follow. Anyways, today's topic means a lot to me. Part of the reason is I went through caregiving for a very long time and caregiving burnout. I know what it did to me personally and professionally. And I think it's important. A lot of the clients that I deal with go through the same thing, and there's not a whole lot, I think, that's really out there that truly discusses this particular area or region in our life. Some of us may never go through it. Some of us will go through it, but I think it is important for us to talk about it because we're naturally selfless in certain areas. I find one of the things when it comes to our health, whether it's weight, whether it's health and well-being, is that we tend to focus on other things rather than our own self. And almost not playing a martyr, but we tend to think we can take things on. And that's because some of us are so good professionally in what we do in our careers. It's easy to want to strive to be the best. And I think in this area, and I don't know how I know we've talked a lot about in your profession, trying to, like break some boundaries and break some barriers, especially as a woman. And I know even in my career, whether it's in training, whether it's in coaching others, you're always trying to help someone get to that best version of themselves. When it comes to caregiving, it's very different because most of the time as a caregiver, especially if it's not your chosen profession, it's someone who means something in your life. You love them, you care about them. That's the word caregiving. And it's really easy to take the focus off of ourselves and put 100% of the focus onto what their needs are. And that can be a little bit of a trap sometimes. So we're going to go into that today, how it could be potentially a pitfall in your life, how it can build up some feelings and emotions that you don't know how to quite deal with because they're conflicting to the way things actually are. But we're going to get into that a little deeper. But today I want to introduce off camera, we have a guest with us today, Cami. So Cami, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
You are quite welcome. So Cami, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do or have done, and why I have you on here today with us.
Well, I think I was born a caregiver. That's always been a role that I've taken on from childhood, actually. Through adulthood, I became a psychotherapist and had a private practice for 20 plus years. Also did life coaching and love teaching. I've taught yoga and have recently gone through becoming more of a caregiver for my dad, who's had several surgeries over the last 2 years. And my parents live in Connecticut. I live in Florida. So that's been a little bit of a balancing act with traveling back and forth.
Now, interestingly enough, your career choices have all been about helping people, clearly.
Yeah.
What do you find to be, now this is something personal, this is family, what do you think is the biggest difference in how you relate to that role of being a caregiver?
It's a lot different being a caregiver for your personal life versus your professional life. you really get to see what other people go through and the struggles that they go through. As a caregiver for myself, I really feel like this has been a gift for me. That I'm at a point in my life where I am able to dedicate time to helping my parents. It's more of a struggle, I think, at home in my personal life because it takes me away from being physically in Florida. But it's something that I really feel blessed that I have been able to do.
So that's really interesting. I know when we were talking earlier, I had been a caregiver for my mom for several years before she passed away. And I know personally the struggle that I had and some of the emotions that I had, which we'll talk about in a second. But when we were talking, you had said being a caregiver feels like an honor and a gift. And that was such a different feeling for me, because I know I started feeling very resentful and angry and burnt out and tired and really guilty about a lot of those feelings. And it was kind of refreshing to hear you say, because I do, looking back now, obviously, I would unwind things and it would be my honor to take care of her again, to have her back. But it's really, do you feel that that's your perspective because of the careers that you've had, maybe?
Possibly, I do. As I said, I think I've always been a natural caregiver, so I feel like I'm at my best, and that that's really my purpose in life, is being that caregiver.
Okay, so you brought up a really good point. And Leah's over here so quiet today, which is so not normal.
I know, it's not normal.
So Leah over here is going to come from the perspective of she's not and has not had to be in that role, but does have to deal, or I don't even want to say deal with, but is experiencing what it's like to be with someone who's a caregiver. And I know that that has to be a very different perspective for you, because you're not the one that's actively
Correct.
doing the work, but there's still a void in your life.
Yeah. So Cammie, to explain Cammie's relationship and I were obviously together. This is the fiance that I was talking about. And, so you can see why I was like, she's mine. But I think,
Eddie over here is getting jealous.
I know.
This is Eddie, everyone. Sorry. Don't be jealous, Eddie. Go ahead.
I know. I saw his hair move a little bit, so I was like, oh, he's upset. So last year she did a lot of the traveling and was not present. I think for me, it's more of I make my mind busy to not feel like the void that she's away. And it's just kind of weird though, because then when she finally comes home, I'm like, oh great, you're back, business as usual. And then I forget that she comes back exhausted to the point she actually did get sick, right? You got sick, she actually did get sick. And then I'm the one that gets frustrated, because now I fall into also a caregiving role where I wasn't having to do that before. But, so I forget about like what she just went through, and I get selfish. So I also get excited and I say, okay, well, I have this and this and this planned for the weekend. And she's like, what? But I think what's the amazing thing is, again, she is such a great person that she's just like, okay, let's do it. Like, she's like on board and willing to do it. But I know on the inside, she feels like she's like I really want to rest. I really just want to recharge. But yes, so I definitely have to be better in terms of seeing when she comes back from taking care of parents and all that. Because again, it's a very big role that, I've experienced it a few times with like previous partners, but it hasn't been to the extent of parental where it's, you have to really give your all in that caregiving aspect.
And it's hard not to want to be with the person you love and spend all your time with them. And like you said, there's that sense of excitement, like, okay, like
She's back
and let's go. And I know that can be a difficult thing. I know even for my husband and myself, when I was going through that and I would come home drained, physically exhausted, I want to close down. I don't want to think about another thing. If I could just sit on the couch and just binge watch something, because I don't have to think. Like, it's a moment I don't have to make a decision. I don't have to, the worst decision I have to make is what I'm going to watch. How has that been for you because you're in one mode when you're out there? Like, I didn't get to traveling and go away and then come back. So it became part of my everyday life. And I know what that did. It's a different way for you, because you leave, you separate for a while, you're out there, you're 100% in, and then you come back, and now you have this other life that you have to pick back. How has that transition been?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned binge watching, because I think that's actually like probably I wouldn't say biggest issue, but something that comes up between us, because I do get in those modes when I get back where I'll just want to like binge watch a Netflix series like nonstop, and then Leah, who's at work, will come home and like, I don't want to watch TV all night. Like, let's go do something. So trying to find a balance with that, or having me like have enough time to kind of veg out, and then, okay, let me get back into, life.
Yeah, that's got to be a switch, because you're literally going from not just, I want to say, Connecticut's the same time zone.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm stupid. Like, I'm like saying that more rhetorically and kind of asking a question.
I'm going to continue that digression. I thought that Connecticut was north of Boston. And all my coworkers are from New York and the Northeast region. They're like, you mean south of Boston? And I was like, yeah. I was just testing you.
I'm so sorry, my geography. But I was gonna say, listen, I work with people in all different time zones, but it's just a different place. It's a different atmosphere. It's the way you do things is very different.
Yes, it is different, and even though it's the same time zone, there is a difference because the sun sets earlier there than here. So
days are shorter.
Yes, they are.
Leah would call me on our way home from work, and I'm like, it's dark here. And she's like, what do you mean it's dark here? The sun is still out. So there is a little bit of a time difference, even though it is the same time zone.
And our bodies have a way of, I think we've talked about this before, because I know we use it a lot for weight loss when we talk about eating. We talk about sun up, sun down principle, right? Sun up, we work, we're active. Sun down, the body knows to shut down, slow down. So I got to imagine you're even in a different mental space when it starts to, your day is a lot shorter.
Yes.
And you have to get more done in a short period of time. But now, I know when I see dark, I'm like, I just want to rest and relax. So even the tone of the conversation, I would imagine sometimes can be a little different.
Yes, absolutely. I think we've found a good balance, and we're really good at communicating. And I will say that we haven't always been great about communicating about that, but through talking about it, we really learned that it's okay, because we love each other and respect each other so much, that it's okay for us to say what we need. And how can we give that to each other?
Which is an excellent point, because I know that's a lot of times people that I work with, that's one thing that they struggle with, not having that. You know how we've talked about our villages, right? Like building our village, not really having that support system that's around us to help us get through this. And a lot of people struggle from that. And I think sometimes that's where the feelings of resentment and frustration, because you're shouldering everything on your own. And that can be difficult, especially when you're still trying to maintain the normalcy of your lives. And we do forget about ourselves, and we do feel depleted. What are some ways for you that have helped maintain? Because I was not good at this.
Sanity.
So I'm going to ask this because you seem well more adjusted to it than I did. I really struggled. Like, no lie. I put so much effort into it that my body fell apart once my mom passed, and I ended up I had Hashimoto's. It came out of remission, came back, gained weight. I had stopped training, so gained all this body fat. My business, for a lot of it, started to fall apart because I couldn't give it. So it was a struggle for me. And I can't say I was as well adjusted as you were. Thankfully, I have an awesome partner who really helped me through it.
Shout out, Dave.
Shout out to Dave. How do you find your, besides Netflix chilling, what are some of the things that you do that help you maintain your balance?
I'm very fortunate because I know what I need to do for myself in order to feel good. Number one for me is working out. And when I am in the caregiving role in Connecticut, that doesn't always happen because I was helping to close my dad's business. So I was working from 6:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon at that, then coming home and doing caregiving things as well. Used to playing pickleball at least once a day for a couple of hours, most days twice a day. Very big with Peloton. So I'm used to being able to work out a lot, and you do lose a lot of that physicality, when you're focused on doing other things and you don't have time for that. It really does take a toll on my body. So
Well, I mean, it's interrupting your routine, right?
Yes.
That, and you're on call. God forbid you're always wanting to stay close to your dad, right? Because it's like, and her dad he's such a active person. Like, you cannot keep that man down. So if she's like, I'm gonna run and go to the bathroom, let's just say, for instance, and in those 2 minutes he can get up and walk around, and God forbid he falls.
he's climbing a ladder. I come back from doing something and I see him on a ladder. Things like that. But it's really important for me to maintain. A workout routine is really important for me. Practicing yoga and meditation are also things that are very important. I used to do a lot of journaling. I found that I didn't have as much time for that, and maybe I wasn't in the headspace for that. But that's also something that is a great thing for me that helps me maintain who I am. And my spirituality is also a big part of who I am. So those are the things that I need to do, and also to feed myself well. That's really important, because if I don't feed myself well and I'm not exercising and I'm not sleeping, then I'm not at my best, and I can't be that caregiver for my parent, and I also can't be a good partner to my fiance.
Excellent point. So guys, remember what they say on an airplane. And we've said this before, and I will say it to Cammie's point. What does every stewardess on an airplane tell you in the very beginning when they go over safety instructions? We put the oxygen mask over ourselves first before we can help someone else.
Perfect segue.
I know, right? You like that? I love that saying. Do you find, because this is something now I've begun trying to integrate with people that are caregiving, that mistake I didn't make. And you have amazing tools, and I did a lot of the same things. I think the one thing I didn't do very well was create the space during my caregiving time for those. I kept those for this over here, and this. If I was journaling, I journaled over here but didn't here. If I did meditation, I meditated over here but not over here. Do you find that those things that help you, you're able to bring with you to Connecticut?
Yes. I am able to bring those with me to Connecticut because they're not physical things that I need to bring with me. It's just part of my routine and part of who I am, and they may fall a little to the wayside when I'm so engrossed in what I'm doing and caregiving, but I don't have to use all the tools. As long as I'm using some of the tools, that makes a big difference.
May I ask you to walk me through a caregiving day in Connecticut with how you would use those tools? Because I think that's where a lot of people struggle. And again, because of your background, I think you're more in tune to what you need than most of us would be. What does that kind of a day look like? Because it sounds really good in theory. I know I'm a journal whore. Literally, I have probably, and there's two things I am. I'm a journal whore and I'm an agenda whore, and we'll talk about that in another episode. I try to be really well planned because I feel it gives me a control. But having the tool and executing the action sometimes don't connect. Mm-hmm. So what is that? How would you make that happen, I guess? Just walk me through a day that maybe how you would make it work.
Well, first you mentioned a really important word, which is control. I that is an area of opportunity for me because I am a little bit of a control freak. So I definitely work very well with an agenda. I have lists for everything.
I think she should be on our next
I was gonna
episode.
say, I think we should call her back in.
I-
Hopefully she has time for us again.
And I function very well with lists and routine. So for me, going through a day of caregiving, let's say I was just in Connecticut last week, I would get up. If I get up early, then that gives me time to work out before going down. I'm fortunate my parents have an apartment over their garage, which is attached to the main house, but I'm not staying in the main house. So if I would get up, exercise, go down, have coffee, check on my dad, you know, do the caregiving things that I need to do with him, then go back up and
So you have that separation. You have that, like that time to just
yeah, and
recharge,
there's
so
a
to
gym in
speak.
the house, so I'm able to make time. My dad likes to watch
Okay, I need to
TV.
stop you there for a second. Guys, I don't know if you heard what she just said. She makes time. Big
Yeah.
difference.
Yes,
Because if we don't make the time or create the space, it's not going to get done.
right.
Sorry.
Someone once told me in a workshop I attended that people make time for what's important to them. So for me, working out is really important, and I know that I don't feel well if I don't work out, so I build that time in. And if I have to get up an hour earlier to get that in, I'll do that. Because it's important, and I know that I'm not going to feel my best, and if I don't feel my best, I'm not going to be a great caregiver. So yes, I make time for that. That being said, the tools that I have, I don't necessarily make time for all of them when I'm in caregiving mode, but I make time for the most important ones. And then when I have more time and I'm able to build more into my schedule, then I can do that.
Perfect. One of the things, my favorite quote, and we've said it through other episodes, when you want something bad enough, you find a way. If not, you find an excuse. And I think that that's an important in all aspects of life, whether it is the way that you eat, the way that you train, the way that you're functioning on a day-to-day. I think those are, you said all of the beautiful tools that we use, right? A quick, and they don't have to be long. I think that was one of the biggest learning lessons. And it's funny too, on the flip side, there were things that I did as a to help keep my sanity as a caregiver that I dropped once that situation was over. I used to get up in the morning, I'd go outside before anybody else was awake, and I knew house was sleeping, mom was okay, and I'd go out by my pool and I would do some yoga. I'd listen to a meditation to keep myself centered and balanced. And I noticed I stopped doing those things too. So it's important for consistency, I think is a big one, whatever tool you're going to use or habit, because we always need that, right? We always kind of need that. I think caregiving is a little something that's extra special because again, it's we're taking care of someone else and we want to, and we're putting all of our heart and soul into it. One important area that I dealt with a lot of clients has been learning to delegate tasks or finding other ways that you're not shouldering the burden of everything. And you and I talked about the whole driver thing. So a big thing for me was doctor's appointments, and my mom couldn't drive anymore. We had to take keys away, which if you ever try to take a keys away, you're taking away someone's independence. And it was really difficult. And because of that, and for safety reasons, then the burden of responsibility then became back on me or my sister, where we had to drive them everywhere. And that does take a lot of time. And again, it cuts into your day, and it's not just the visit, but it's the drive, the pickup, and those things are tough. And so one of the things that I had to do is start thinking smarter, not harder. And we had to find someone that could drive my mom to and from, and then I could FaceTime during the doctor's appointments. And so I could still hear what was going on, but now I didn't have to give up time for work or do things. I think it's important, we've talked before about finding your village, I think it's really important to learn what tasks can we delegate. What are things that we're owning? Are we owning everything? Are there some things that I can get help doing? Did you find that you were able to have to delegate anything, or?
Yeah, I'm not really great at delegating things.
I don't know.
I think that goes along with liking to be in control, but I think it's so important to be able to delegate and to know what things you can delegate. So for instance, you mentioned the driving. I thankfully haven't been in that position yet. But it's great that you're able to do that, because for me, I could see how that on top of everything else would become even more overwhelming.
It can be, trust me. But Uber may be an answer, may not. One thing, I found a driver, same person, over and over. Hire an Uber driver that you know and see if they're on the side, want to do that. Another way of dealing with it is what Cammie had mentioned about scheduling self-care, making sure that there's time in your day. If you do have an agenda or you do have a calendar you keep for work, make sure you block out some time in that calendar for you. That it's an area of time that you can't be into, even if it's 5 minutes. Get up, take a walk, go outside, connect with nature, journal. Some of those things may not be for everyone. One thing I recommend, and it works, is fun. Find a rage room near you. I think it's one of the best self-help things that somebody created. However, somebody even told me they're going to create their own rage room in their backyard, where they're just going to go to the thrift store and buy a bunch of glasses and cups and
That's
create
great.
a space. And it's okay, because when we don't address the emotion that we're having and we try to shove it down, people eat their feelings. We get stomach upset. We can get reflux. There's all kinds of physical things. I'm sure in the past you've dealt with that before, right?
Absolutely.
You'll have some physical things that's your body talking to you because you refuse to listen. I love the tools. Leah, on your end, or Cammie, on your end, you made the point of, I'm excited to see you. I want my time, right? I because you're not in that mode yet. What would you as a caregiver tell to anybody that's in a relationship? What do you need?
For me, coming home, I'm also like so excited to be able to spend time with my partner again. I'm looking forward to that, but I definitely need time to unwind and to just kind of let everything go, that from going from caregiving mode back into like quote unquote, regular life. That it's really important for me. I usually take a day where I will just binge watch.
And that's
Netflix.
okay though, because I'm at work. But I mean, even on the weekend, I shouldn't be. Even if I'm there, I should just be able to say, "Do you come back when you feel recharged?" Or even if it means me sitting there, sometimes I will do it. But it's whatever she requests.
But does it have to be that? Is there something that might be low key that the two of you could do together? A walk on the beach, or something that's like restorative, like instead of the like all or none philosophy, maybe there's a middle ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also we've been good because, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
But that if you do want to go, like there have been like the first days that I come home and we love playing pickleball together. If I'm drained and not feeling it, I'll say we'll just go from work and play, and then come home and I'll have dinner ready. So that there's not a component of guilt. I don't want her to feel guilty about missing something that she looks forward to doing in order to spend time with me. And I think you're good about that as well. Like
Yes.
Not making me, because you can't make anyone feel anything, but that I am not feeling guilty by not joining you when I know that I'm at a place where I'm feeling too drained.
Yeah, we definitely have that good dynamic of expressing what we want and what we don't want, and this is a perfect example, especially because you're hanging up your caregiver cape when you come home, and then I'm just like, not yet? Anytime?
Yeah.
Is it time yet? Can we? Okay.
Well, it's almost like a little bit like a barometer, right? You have this, and then all of a sudden you're drained, and it takes a certain amount of time to fill back up. And I know it's hard when you're over here and you're trying to do these things.
But it's just kind of weird too, because when she's away, then I feel like my life, my routines start to change, and then she comes back, so it's almost having to double adapt, like habits that I've developed while she was away and she was away. So I don't know if we should maybe pause while that's going or keep going.
Is it okay?
Is it good, or should we stop?
You can pause.
Okay.
I'm sure.
I think I'm
No,
gonna
you're fine.
Sorry.
That's
I asked before 8.
no, you're.
That's okay.
That's a
No, I
beautiful
just
thing of
want-
editing, right? You can edit it out.
I'd rather just run it by the,
Tammy, great job.
Really? Am I talking too much sometimes? Like,
No, I want you to. I want you.
You're totally fine.
Yeah,
I just
they're.
have because you talk so low, that automatically increases your gain.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, because her voice is just so loud. Even by adding the microphone, like, it didn't increase it as much, but it does, like, and when it increases the gain, it picks up, like, everything.
You know what's so funny is that, like, as a therapist, people say, like, oh, you have such a soothing voice.
Yeah.
And all that. And yoga teaching. But then, you know, I'm a singer. I was a cheerleader. And, like, if I did my cheerleading voice, it's so loud and bassy. And
Guttural.
I don't know how to
Well, she
sound
thinks it's
like
bassy,
a...
but it's
That
like,
happy beat
just an
medium in
octave.
between.
Yeah.
I love
But
Her
that's
friends
how.
make fun of me. I don't watch like sitcoms, but on a Seinfeld episode or something, there's about a quiet,
it was a double
low
date.
talker or something.
Yeah, and then they're like, so what do you do for a living? And she's like,
Oh, it's like in Pitch Perfect. The
Yeah.
girl who does it. Did you ever see Pitch Perfect? The one singer who like, she looks Asian, but she's like, and yet she's in the acapella group, and you're like, what the hell? And then finally at the very end, she
she
talks.
like voice,
Yeah.
Her friends
boisterous.
like tease me about that. 'Cause
Bar
they're like,
loud.
what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially if we're brunching and then we're somewhere loud and Cammy's answering a question, they're like, what? They do the what? But it's
No.
like, well,
No, it's perfect. No, and it is, like I said, it's very different perspectives. You're coming from a perspective of, and I like the ideas, right? Because it's not just me saying them. Somebody else is saying, like you said, all the things that were on there for like all the tools you can use. Did you read that? It's like
Yeah.
meditation, journaling. It's all like
it's
right
almost
here.
like,
even
I'm
see
like, did
that.
Cammy write this?
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, you don't have to.
That's why I
like,
said
don't
the
have to
perfect
say
segue. It's like
anything.
she goes into the point.
I was gonna say though that like there are things that let go, like food and eating healthy is really important to me. However, when I was there this past time, last week, and my dad had surgery, like he likes to go out to eat. I cooked dinner every night, but I was cooking like comfort foods, which
Yeah.
is not something that I would normally eat at home every day, but I was eating them. And I don't know if it was more comfort for him or myself or both of us.
Maybe.
That's
You know?
yeah, it's subtle. It's
Um,
that subtle behavior, right?
Yeah, but I feel like it's hard for me because I really am like a black and white, all or nothing kind of person. So for me to give myself permission to, it's okay to not be perfect with my food at this time when I'm going through so much emotionally
Yeah.
and physically, and helping to take care of that. Like that's one thing that I know when I'm home, you know, I can turn that back around and go back to eating more clean.
See, and that's the cool thing about, like, because it was my,
So you guys ready to get back to it?
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that sucks because that was a great, like, segment. I was hoping
It
you
was.
were.
I mean,
That was a
I was
good
just thinking,
soundbite.
should I interrupt
I was
it?
gonna
Keep
say,
it
did
going,
we
or-
not-
Wait, you're still rolling,
Can
though,
you-
right?
It's been rolling.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
good.
Perfect,
Okay.
great. So we have a clip.
Because you can edit that piece, right?
Yeah, you could
Because
totally
I was
get that.
gonna
Yeah.
say, like, I know for me, with it being my everyday, day in and day out, I had a really hard time. I couldn't switch in and switch out. It was that continuous, and for me, and it's terrible because I'm not a fast food person. Like, I don't like fast food, but how much I ended up having to turn to that just to make it work, because it was, for some reason, my mom's comfort food was Kentucky Fried Chicken, and it was a mashed potato bowl. It was a total, like, that was comfort for
I
her.
haven't had that in a while.
I know.
Wow.
And I know, and it's not part of my repertoire, but then when you're already low on time and you're running it, that does become a necessity, because I'm like, I need to eat.
Yeah.
And then you just realize it catches up with you. And I think that was, or you're so exhausted, I don't want to make dinner, especially if you're the one who has to cook at home. I don't want to make dinner. I'm super tired. Let's order out. And so all of that starts to build up. And then if it's crappy food, it doesn't make you feel good,
Right.
right? It doesn't make you feel good at all. But
I just have one question. As someone that's, at some point inevitably about to enter that caregiving role.
Oh, wait, are we back on?
yeah, just keep
Yeah.
going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
We are back on.
Listen, we're just rolling, like,
Yeah.
go.
So my question is, is there a way to train for the caregiving role? Because some people are born with it, some people are not. Maybe it's Maybelline. Shoot, we're gonna get sued.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. But you know what I mean? So it's like, how do you, if you weren't born with the Florence Nightingale gene, how do you prepare for that?
That's an excellent question. I don't know that you can. I think one thing you can do, and this is something, I don't care who you are, what position that you're in, what part of life you are, the one thing I think people struggle a lot with, especially if they're not in a profession that really helps you evolve or get in touch with your emotions or coaches you to be at that next level, is learning to practice some form of self-care. I think for me, the resentfulness and the frustration and the anger, and I say that, I did feel that. I know this was my mother. I felt really guilty about those feelings for a long time. But I realized that because I was putting all my needs to the wayside, I would do these things gladly, but then all of a sudden when I needed to be refilled, and maybe someone doesn't know how to refill your tank around you, even if they love you, they don't they don't necessarily understand what you need, that you forget to take care of yourself because you're so drained. And I think if there is a part in your life, whether it's food, whether it's exercise, whether it's that 5-minute journal or 10-minute meditation every morning, a consistency in self-care can help you, because if you can be kind to you, then it's a lot easier to be kind to someone else too. And I think if it becomes a habit that is part of your life enough, the same way that drinking coffee is for people first thing in the morning, they'll get up and that's the first thing they do. That had to start from somewhere, and they kept repeating the action. It, I think, starts to make you more empathetic, more sympathetic. You can't be empathetic right now. You can't feel this because you haven't gone through it. You can sympathize with her situation, but I think you're able to start realizing what you need so that you can be that best version for someone else. But if you're already drained from work and you're coming home and you've had a bad week and she's your source of support, but she's down.
I know that's where that conundrum takes place, right? Because sometimes I have crazy weeks at work. I just had one. And then, she's also just coming back. So it's like that explosion, right?
But that's also a perfect time for you to, because you've struggled with this, focusing back on your own self-needs because you're so busy waiting for her. And I think that's a good time as well to be practicing that, like taking advantage of that day or two that she's down to really say, it's okay for me to kind of assess where I'm at too. So when she's coming out of it, you're fully ready. She's fully ready too to do that. And I think you forget, as the non-caregiver, you're just rolling in your day. Right? You're doing your day, you're doing your thing. And so because she's such an important part of your day, and you're lucky that you each have that support system, but there's a lot of people that don't have that. And that's where it falls apart and it takes its toll. Even if you do have it, it can fall apart and take its toll. But I think you can't train for it, but if you continue to practice your self-care, if you make that a priority in your life, it's so much easier. Again, the oxygen mask on you, because if I can breathe, you're going to be able to breathe, right?
Totally.
I think another thing you asked, what can you do to prepare? I know for myself, who's, like I said, has issues with control, and I want to be that person and be everything for everyone. But to not get drained and overwhelmed is to really find out from the person that needs the caregiving, what are their needs? I think a lot of us, we think, oh, you need this and you need this and you need this, and then, and they might not want that, they might not need that. So then you're doing things like spinning your wheels doing things that you think are important
And
to
the
them.
sick person's like, I don't need this. Sometimes the sick person's like, what are you doing? You know?
Or they may, and then you have to fight that battle too. Right? Like, you cannot get up without your walker and walk to the bathroom, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, but it's like if you know, maybe this didn't happen, but it could have with the food, maybe I thought that making comfort meals is something that my dad needed because my mom stayed back in Florida during that time. And I know that he didn't need that. That's something that I chose to do. But if that's something that would have been draining for me, that's something that I could have taken off my plate, and I could have gotten Uber Eats or had food delivered or something. You know, just
so it's
knowing where.
So you also it's communication
Exactly.
is huge, even with the patient, if the patient can speak, you know.
Yes.
Right. Or
Knowing what to take off your plate.
Yeah.
Right? What can
Yeah.
you delegate out? Like we
Yeah.
were talking about, what can I do that I'm doing this, do I necessarily need to do it?
Right.
If it's not causing any harm, it's not making a negative impact. But that's
And
a
the
good
why,
idea.
like why are you why are you doing certain things? Like why am I choosing to make dinner if that's not something that's required?
Right.
If I'm doing that because it fills me up and it helps me feel good.
I
then
think that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, not to cut you off, but I think that's a great way to look at it. It's like, okay, what you're doing to help that person, but at the same time, it's also fulfilling you. So that's a good way to look at it, I think.
We're talking about that. It was interesting. One of the clients I was just working with, she's caretaking for her husband at the moment. And we were talking about how she's struggling with her food because she wants to lose weight. She wants to feel healthier and have more energy. And she's having a problem with that. And so we started talking about her routines during the day. She's like, well, first I make dinner for my husband and then I'm making dinner for me. And I'm like, okay. But she's tired when she gets to her. And I'm like, well, why isn't he eating like you if we're teaching you to be healthy? Right? Weight is something, guys, that if you have extra weight and you have extra body fat, it's going to come off and correct itself when you're doing the right things. It's not something you have to actively go after as your main why, right? And I said, if this is something that you're doing because we're trying to get you healthier, out of pain, out of inflammation, more energy, why isn't he
Why
eating the same
not?
thing? And she's just like, and he doesn't really care what he eats. And I'm like, then, and I said, well, then why were you making 2 meals? And it's like this, something simple like that. But the light bulb goes off like
It's
you were
an
talking
aha
about. Like,
moment, yeah.
oh, and I said, because you're making for him first, then you're addressing your needs, but really address your need because it helps him, right? Like work smarter, not harder. So
Yeah.
I think those are things too when you're looking at how to identify why I'm doing it, or if there's not a dietary need, can you make the meal you want and share with him? And it's so interesting. Or if you are traveling back and forth, do you have what you need in the house up there already? Like certain staples and that's
Cammie and
important.
I just watched a movie, The Fundamentals of Caring. I think it's very apropos for this episode to recommend this movie.
May I ask, on what platform did you watch that movie?
We can watch. We watched it on Netflix.
Okay.
Was it
What is it
Netflix?
called? Fundamentals of
The
Caring.
Fundamentals of Caring, and I would recommend it to everyone. Like, I watched it with my dad. He loved it, and my 30-year-old son was there, who did not want to watch it. We said we'll do the 10-minute rule. We watch a movie for 10 minutes, and then if anybody in the group really is not liking it, we'll turn it off.
Clearly, they watched it.
He ended up loving it and has recommended it to many people. I sent an email as soon as we finished watching it to my mom and her sisters and Leah, and everyone has loved it. It's a really incredible movie.
It's very
I'll have to
insightful.
watch it.
Oh
I
yeah,
haven't seen it yet.
it's with Paul Rudd.
We give two
who
thumbs
doesn't
up.
want to see
Yeah.
Paul
Oh,
Rudd?
yeah.
It's very it's a humorous show.
It's kind of dark. It's a little dark sometimes.
They put humor to caregiving. It's
To
about
cut the tension
a kid
too.
who has
It's-
muscular dystrophy, who's in a wheelchair, and his mom works and they need a full-time caregiver. But it's heartwarming, it's funny, it's a great life lessons. It's just an overall feel-good movie.
That's a good one. Okay, so when you're really wanting to Netflix and chill, there's a good binge watch to do. But guys, I think there were some really important lessons here today from, again, different viewpoints from the viewpoint of Leah, who is learning what her partner needs in order to fulfill and keep that bucket flowing, and what you need so that you're not feeling resentful and frustrated. Cami comes from the viewpoint of someone who's really embracing that caregiver role and has been there and has found some great strategies, which, of course, as I'm teasing her, that's on my outline to tell you guys, but she already said it. So let's just recap that with you. Journaling, meditation, take a walk in nature, just go outside, and if it's sunny, just stand there for a couple minutes with your sun on your face. Sleep, super important. Make sure that you're trying to get sleep when you can. I love naps. I know I hated them when I was a little kid growing up. I'm all about a nap. A good 20-minute nap is like my best friend. We joke in my house, my favorite club is called Club Bed with DJ Pillow and MC Blanky, and that's where I love to go.
I want to meet
If
Blanky.
you're dealing with frustration, again, Rage Room, there's great things. Pick up a phone, have that phone a friend. It just doesn't need to be for a game show. Find a phone a friend, create that village that's there for support for you. Finding movies or books that are like this that support you in what you need. And remembering you don't have to shoulder all of the burden for everything. Finding those good ways to take off your plate and delegate. So we're going to wrap it up with that, guys. I hope today's episode helps you have a different perspective, maybe gave you some great ideas for how to cope with this, I'd say, very difficult, trying time in your life, or to get prepared for a scenario where that might be. Because honestly, you kind of caregive too. When Cami comes home and she's depleted, that's kind of your caregiving role to step into to help fill her back up.
It's a little mini training.
Yeah,
a fire drill.
But
It's a fire drill.
How you can prepare, that's one way to do it.
It's going great.
But guys, we hope that you got as much out of this as we did. Give us a thumbs up or a like, subscribe and follow. And for more information, check out www.coachalicengold.com. In the meantime, Leah and I will see you on our next episode coming up, which is all about if you have lists for those to-do lists. So I don't know, Cami, that was a good one that you could have been on too. We might have to get you back.
Just a quick shout out to my teammate from Coño Pickleball, Laura Linares Tavera.
Of course, there always has to be a shout out.
Yeah.
Just like Crown Royal. I have no one to shout
Still
out
want my
to.
sponsorship.
I guess I could shout out to Outfit, shout out to X Brand Marketing for the amazing job that we do with our podcast. Guys, you want the best in the business, make sure you look him up.
That guy, he's doing the dance.
That
the
guy
happy
is
dance.
behind the scenes who makes us smile when I look up. So we'll see you on our next episode. Stay well, treat yourself right, and keep going.
Peace.
So fresh. Get up on your feet, this is a shakedown.